Here are my 2021 NBA playoff predictions. We're going to be covering the Eastern Conference today, and in my next video, we'll be covering the Western Conference and who I feel is going to win in the finals. We're going to start off with the 1-8 matchup, the Philadelphia 76ers versus the play-in winner between the Wizards and the Pacers. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to hypothetically say the Washington Wizards beat the Pacers and get that 8th spot. Unfortunately, that doesn't really make a difference for the 76ers, whether it's the Pacers or the Wizards. I see them winning in 5. They've been on a roll all season long, and there was talks of Joel Embiid winning MVP before he got injured. I really feel they're going to carry that momentum they had all throughout the year and end the first round for them pretty fast. The 4-5 matchup, the New York Knicks versus the Atlanta Hawks. This is a very interesting storyline going on with the guys like Julius Randle and Trae Young. Julius Randle made the All-Star game. Trae Young didn't. He felt like he got snubbed. This is a good chance for the Hawks and Trae Young to prove that they deserve it and they are going to advance. So between this matchup, I have the Hawks winning in Game 6. The crazy thing about the Hawks throughout the season, they were going on the downhill decline. There were talks about trading John Collins, and then they fired their coach and hired Nate McMillan, and he seems to have turned them around and then started winning. It's going to be a very interesting matchup just based off coaches alone, because the Knicks have Tom Thibodeau there, a very defensive-minded coach, and Nate McMillan doesn't seem to have it in him in terms of making adjustments with the Pacers, always getting the Pacers to the playoffs but never really doing anything. So this could be his chance to actually do something and win against the New York Knicks. And overall, compared to the Knicks, I feel like the Hawks have a more playoff ready roster. They got a bunch of bodies to throw at Julius Randle, and this team on paper is constructed perfectly to make a run in the playoffs, and let's see if they're able to do so. The 3-6 matchup, the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Miami Heat. Last year I said if any team is going to dethrone the Bucks and beat the Bucks, it's going to be the Miami Heat. And I still picked the Bucks to beat the Miami Heat. So I'm not going to make that same mistake again. Obviously, the Bucks are a team that, similar to the Raptors of previous years, have always been a great regular season team, especially with Coach Bud there. I just don't think Giannis has that much help, even with Chris Middleton and the addition of Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday is a major upgrade from Bledsoe, but I don't see it. And if the Heat had Victor Oladipo healthy, yeah, this would have been over in 5. So I have the Heat winning in 6. It would be a nice revenge story of the Bucks beating the Heat, but ultimately I think the Bucks are going to have to do some major changes and might have to trade even a guy like Chris Middleton. Although he's very skilled at what he does, he just isn't that guy to be paired alongside Giannis if the Bucks actually want to win something. Giannis needs a better second and third option. I mean, when you think of championship teams, do you think of Chris Middleton being on a championship team as the second option? I don't. The 2-7 matchup, the Brooklyn Nets versus the Boston Celtics. It's unfortunate for the Boston Celtics losing Jaylen Brown. This would have been a more intriguing series, but the Celtics are kind of like the Brooklyn Nets in terms of a lot of offense, not a lot of defense. And that would work against a lot of other teams, but when your top guy is Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, and Marcus Smart, and the other team's top guys are Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, yeah, that's gonna be tough. I have the Brooklyn Nets winning in 5. Ultimately tough year for the Celtics. The changes probably gonna be made in the offseason when that happens. Moving on to the second round of the Eastern Conference, the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Atlanta Hawks in the second round. The Hawks are a very fun team, but the way that Daryl Morey has changed this 76ers team around in just one offseason, getting Doc Rivers in, getting rid of big contracts like Al Horford and Josh Richardson, and getting expiring deals in return and shorter deals, that's a good look not only for this year but also for the years to come, more flexibility. So the 76ers are going to be dangerous this year, and next year might even be better, which is even scarier. Hopefully we are able to see matchups with Ben Simmons and Trae Young. Simmons, a very defensive-minded point guard. Trae Young, very offensive-minded point guard. We'll see which one of those matchups prevails, but I have the Sixers winning and beating the Hawks in 5 games. This is the first time in quite some time that the Hawks have made it to the playoffs, and getting out of the first round and making it to the second round is a big accomplishment in its own right. The 2-6 matchup, the Brooklyn Nets versus the Miami Heat. This is going to be a fun one if this is an actual matchup, which I really do hope it is, because this is a similar situation to last year, the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Miami Heat. If any team in the East or even in the West is going to beat the Brooklyn Nets, it's going to be the Miami Heat. And although I made the mistake saying that last year and still not picking the Miami Heat, I just can't pick the Miami Heat over the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are one of the most stacked teams that we've witnessed, with Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. And the Heat are a very defensive-minded oriented team, but how are you going to stop all 3 of those players? Jimmy Butler can't do it alone, and with the loss of Jay Crowder on the Heat, I think that was a huge blow to them, and replacing him with Trevor Ariza, that's okay, but that's not enough to stop this 3-headed monster, and it's championship or bust for the Nets, and I don't see them losing in the second round. I hope for a long series, but with the loss of Victor Oladipo, that's big for the Heat. I'm going to say Brooklyn Nets in 6. Moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals, the 1 seed versus the 2nd seed, Philadelphia 76ers versus the Brooklyn Nets. I honestly feel if we get a Miami Heat and Brooklyn Nets matchup, that's going to be the highlight of the Eastern Conference. It could happen with the 76ers and the Nets as well, but just play style wise, you really don't know what to expect between these two. The Nets have nobody to stop Joel Embiid from going crazy, but the 76ers, it's going to be hard stopping, like I said, just with the Miami Heat. Hard stopping that 3-headed monster. And if it isn't obvious already, I have the Brooklyn Nets making it to the NBA Finals, and I'm going to have to say 6 games for this series between the Sixers and the Nets. So there you have it. Those are my Eastern Conference predictions for the 2021 NBA playoffs. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments, along with your predictions as well. Did you agree? Did you disagree? Let's talk about it. Leave a like, subscribe, check out some of these other videos, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Thank you for watching.